So let's start with a question most people are too embarrassed to say out loud. Is it me or is the whole system broken? Because when you're working full time or maybe juggling two jobs and you still can't get ahead, that's not a personal failure. That's a structural collapse and it's happening quietly right now in Canada. So let's start with food. In March of 2023, over 2 million visits to food banks in a single month. That's that's a record and a real bad one. Now let's fast forward to today, mid 2025, and ask yourself this: where's the update? We haven't seen anything new from hunger count stats from Food Banks Canada. Why no fresh breakdown by region or age or household? Because let's be honest, if the numbers had improved, we'd be seeing it in every single press release. But the silence, well, that tells us something loud. The numbers didn't go down, they probably got worse. And people aren't just skipping Starbucks, they're skipping meals. And kids are showing up to school without lunch. And seniors are rationing their frozen dinners. And yet we're told inflation is cooling and everything's fine. It's not fine. Let's look at housing right now. This one hits even harder. According to the CMHC and RBC, as of 2025, the average Canadian household needs 63% of its income just to cover housing costs. That's not rent, utilities, groceries, and a car. That's just shelter. And in cities like Toronto or Vancouver, that number shoots past 80%. People are spending more than they earn just to stay housed. So what happens? They take on more debt. They cash in their RSPs. They stop buying food. This isn't fringe. This is middle class collapse in real time. And it's not just happening in big cities anymore. Communities in Alberta, in the Maritimes, and rural Ontario are all reporting spikes in housing stress, bankruptcies, and foreclosures. This is no longer about bad budgeting. It's about a system where working people can't survive. So let me give you a real world example. I have a young couple, two kids, both working full time. They bought their home from us in 2020. They locked in their 5-year fixed mortgage at 1.79 on an $800,000 mortgage. Their monthly payment is around 3,300. Fast forward to now, their mortgage is up for renewal. Their new rate is at 3.99. Now, even with a moderate jump, that pushes their monthly payment up to over $4,200 a month. That's nearly $900 more every single month for the exact same house. And remember, they didn't buy a mansion. They bought a family home in the suburbs. And now they're eating into their savings, they're cutting childcare and looking at their grocery bill with anxiety every week. They didn't overspend, they didn't gamble, they just got caught in a country that shifted the goalposts halfway through the game. So, if mortgage payments are swallowing up your income and rent is one missed paycheck away from eviction, what's left? Food. But what's happening when even that starts slipping out of reach? Well, let's go back to something we touched on earlier. Food Banks Canada recorded over 2 million visits in a single month. So, what about the job market or what's left of it? Because despite what government press releases tell you about strong employment fundamentals and resilient labor demand, the lived reality, well, that feels very different. In May of 2025, Canada's national unemployment rate hit 6.2%.
Canada's unemployment rate rose in May despite a gain of 27,000 jobs. Statistics Canada's latest report.
And in some provinces like Newfoundland and Ontario, it's even higher. And here's where it gets worse. For Canadians under 30, unemployment is above 14%. So that means nearly 1 in 7 young adults can't find stable work. And among the ones who do have jobs, well, many are earning less than previous generations did with high school diplomas. So let me ask you this: what's the point of working two jobs if you still can't afford rent? And what's the value of a university degree if it gets you a part time gig with no benefits? What's the message to our kids when their career path includes Uber, DoorDash, and living with their parents until 35? This isn't motivational. This is broken. And this is the generation that was told go to school, study hard, get a good job, and then you can buy a home. But they did all that. And what did they get? A degree? Check. Debt? Check. Rent that's higher than their salaries? Checkmate. According to StatsCan, real wage growth for full time jobs has been flat or negative for most of the past 20 years. In fact, part time wages are still below 1981 levels when adjusted for inflation. So let that sink in. A student working part time today is earning less than their parents did 40 years ago, while paying double for groceries, triple for tuition, and mortgage payments that border on fantasy. And yet, we're still told to just keep working harder. I've had clients tell me I make $70,000 a year and I'm broke. And they're not lazy and they're not irresponsible. They're just trying to survive in an economy that no longer rewards effort. Now, let's add one more layer to that: automation and AI. So, nearly 30% of existing roles are forecasted to be replaced or significantly changed by automation in the next 10 years. What does that mean? Well, more competition for fewer stable jobs and more downward pressure on wages for the roles that survive. And if we don't address this head on, we're heading for a situation where the cost of living explodes, the good jobs will literally vanish. And the only advice left is hustle harder while billionaires automate your paycheck. So, what are people saying? Well, some economists are calling for a guaranteed livable wages, more public investment in skilled trades, stronger youth apprenticeship programs, and tax incentives for companies hiring full time staff instead of gig contractors. Others say we need a total reevaluation of how we define employment in a post COVID AI dominated world. And I'm not here to tell you which idea is right, but I am here to say this: the current setup is not working. So if you've been laid off unpaid in the last 12 months, type enough in the comments section. And if your kids or grandkids are struggling to find work in their field, type wake up. And if you believe real work should pay for real life, drop value work in the comment section, because work used to be the path to stability. Now it feels like a treadmill and someone keeps cranking. Let's talk about the people leaving. Yes, leaving Canada because they can't afford to stay. Now let's talk about who's coming in and whether we've created a revolving door of expectations no one can meet. So let's zoom out for a second, because while we're all talking about how expensive life has become here, something else is happening quietly in the background. Canadians are leaving in record numbers, and not just snowbirds or retirees heading to Florida. We're talking about working age Canadians, families, professionals, and even new immigrants who came here recently are now packing up again. In 2024 alone, over 106,000 people left Canada permanently. That's the highest number of outward migration in over 50 years. And according to a recent provincial data, more than 66,000 Ontarians left the province in that same year. Where are they going? Some are relocating to Alberta for lower taxes and cheaper housing, Atlantic Canada for community and simplicity, the US for job opportunities and warmer weather, and some are going as far as Costa Rica, Mexico, or Portugal. I spoke to a family last month. They sold their 3-bedroom home in Mississauga and moved to Panama, bought a house in cash, put their kids in school, and are running an online business. They said, "We didn't leave Canada because we didn't love it. We left because it stopped loving us back." That one hit. And that story is becoming more common than you think. Now, on the flip side, while people are leaving, more people are arriving. In the first 4 months of 2025 alone, Canada welcomed over 817,000 newcomers, including temporary foreign workers, permanent residents, and international students. That's more than most countries take in a full year. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, this isn't a blame game. This is about planning, balance, infrastructure, and basic economics. Because here's the public conversation right now. Are we matching immigration levels with available housing? Are we ensuring these newcomers can meet meaningful work? Are we scaling up education, healthcare, and transit to support population growth? Some say yes, but a growing number of Canadians say it doesn't feel like it. A poll by Ledger in early 2025 found that 57% of Canadians believe immigration levels should be slowed until housing affordability improves. 61% are concerned about job competition due to new arrivals. Again, not my opinion, these are public polls. Even some immigration advocates are now saying we're risking public trust if we don't plan growth carefully. At the same time, newcomers themselves are struggling. Overqualified immigrants working survival jobs. You got families crammed into single rooms paying 2,000 plus a month. Students being scammed by fake landlords and illegal sublets. We've created a pipeline of dreams without the infrastructure to back it up. So what do? We ask questions, we demand data, and we look at outcomes. CBC ran a headline, record immigration, record inflation. Are they connected? The Globe and Mail, they featured a headliner, skilled workers leaving Canada for US tech jobs at alarming rate. And Reddit, well, those are full of threads from Canadians asking, should I leave too? This is the conversation happening in real time, and it's bigger than politics. It's about what kind of country we want to be and what kind of life we're creating for both the people coming in and those already here. So I want to know from you. Type left if you or someone you know has left Canada or is seriously thinking about it. Type stay if you're staying but struggling to make it work. And type needs a plan if you believe we can grow and thrive, but only if we do it smart. This isn't about fear. It's about facing the facts and fixing what's broken before it breaks more people. Now, if we tie this all together, food, housing, jobs, immigration, outmigration, and most importantly, the question that's been hanging over this video is what now? Because if we don't face this moment with clarity and courage, it's going to get a lot worse, not better. So let's look at where we're at right now. We have food insecurity that is rising, but official reporting is lagging behind. Housing affordability is collapsing, yet no one is pressing pause on interest rate resets or land speculation. Unemployment is creeping upward, especially among youth, and more Canadians are leaving the country than we've seen in 5 decades. Immigration levels are at historic highs, but without a matching job growth or housing supply. And most importantly, Canadians feel like they're not being heard. And no, this isn't just anecdotal. Look at the comment sections on news articles and listen to phone-in shows. Scroll Reddit or local Facebook groups. People are saying, I used to feel proud to live here. Now I feel priced out. I work part-time and I still am living paycheck to paycheck. My daughter has a degree and works retail and she can't move out. We just sold our house and are moving to Eastern Europe where it's cheaper and safer. These aren't just complaints. This is an actual shift, a national mood change. We used to talk about Canada like it was a dream. Now people talk about it like a contract was broken. But here's the thing. This isn't about giving up. It's about waking up. Because if we don't ask better questions and demand better answers and engage with real solutions, we'll just keep reacting to a crisis after a crisis. Public conversations on CBC panels and in City Hall meetings are echoing the same requests. Link immigration levels to available housing and healthcare capacity. Rein in corporate control over rental markets and land development. End the speculation loopholes that allow hedge funds to buy neighborhoods. increase wage transparency and labor protection in the gig economy, scale back international student caps until there's adequate housing. Again, these aren't my opinions. These are the things Canadians are saying across the political spectrum. And we're not short on ideas, we're short on action. And we're definitely short on leadership that listens. So maybe it's time we stop waiting for someone else to fix it and start using our collective voice to demand better. Not with rage, not with division, but with truth and unity and numbers that can't be ignored. If you've watched this whole video and you feel like this has hit home, or if your wallet is stretched, your hope is low, or your patience is gone, type change in the comments. Type expensive if your cost of living feels unlivable. And type stay and build if you still believe this country is worth fighting for, but only if it works for everyone. And if you're still here, I just want to say this. Thank you. We're building a channel that doesn't sugarcoat, that doesn't gaslight, and doesn't look away when things get uncomfortable. Because real change starts with truth telling. And truth doesn't come from the top down. It comes from the ground up. So please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and more than anything, share this video and send it to your friends, your family, your coworkers, your community. Let's get this into the hands of Canadians who feel alone, because they're not.